Okay, there we go. I like how Zoom tells you now for sure. It's like, just so you know. It's like, I know I pressed the record button. Anyway, y'all, wouldn't it be nice to have a Zoom call? Actually, what we were just talking about was David's puppy and whether or not he should bring the puppy, but it's a puppy, so it's a little bit distracting. And I was like, it would be nice. And then the song was in my head. Okay, that's where my train of thought is. Hello, good morning, happy post-holiday. David, how are you? For everyone who doesn't know, if this is your first time with us, welcome, welcome. And this to my Zoom left, I've got one David Goldberg. Is that my right? No, it's a mirror. Zoom has you on a mirror. That's my right. David Goldberg, our Chief Edge Officer. How are you? You were just telling me that you didn't do fireworks for your holiday this year.
Yeah, we skipped the fireworks. Yeah, which was weird. We've seen them every year. But yeah, so be it. We could still hear them. They're about 3.5 miles away, and we could hear it.
Yeah.
So
How was the puppy with the fireworks?
didn't seem to. She was oblivious. Now the cat is out of the bag, or the puppy is. So you guys should know that. We have a little puppy, and she's really adorable, and she's too young to hold her bodily fluids. She's like, she's tiny, and she has to be taken out about every 20 minutes. It's great if we take her out and we put her on the grass, she goes, she does her business. But if we don't take her out in about 20 minutes, she goes on the floor. And so she is now unattended for an hour while I'm down here. And I was telling Siobhán prior to you guys joining us, I really considered holding her for the hour. And I wasn't going to say anything, but Siobhán let the puppy cat out of the bag. And yeah, so maybe I will grab her.
I really did. I'm so sorry, David. With me and tiny creatures, I just can't keep it. I can't.
Yeah, she's cute. But you've seen pictures of her.
I've
She's
seen
cute.
pictures and I am very into it. Everyone, welcome. Yeah, so for my 4th of July, I did this silent disco, this outdoor dance party where they put headphones on you. And we were in Jersey City and we there's a guide, there's like a DJ and you like dance along through Jersey City and it's like timed music. It's like 4 hours. And then you end up at the perfect place with all the fireworks going off and you're like dancing music and everyone's like, who are those people? It was fun. It was actually very wholesome, good way to do it. Highly recommend silent disco 4th of July to my Americans and my American holiday observers. Anyway, we like puppies, fireworks. Oh, there's oh boy. Yep, that's a cute doggo. I love. I have a neighbor who's one of those cute little dogs, the French bulldog. His name is El Chapo, and he growls a lot.
Funny.
But one day El Chapo is gonna let me pet him, and I can't wait. I'm just excited about it. Okay, my friends, welcome to our hour of good times. I feel like sometimes new people are like, what's happening here? I promise we are smart and sophisticated. And the way this session works, outside of talking about puppies or fireworks or whatever you want to talk about, what we actually talk about really is all things voiceover. So my name is Siobhán. I am your friendly Zoom host. Really, that's like actually my specialty, but I am also the social media manager and community relations here at Edge Studio. So what we're gonna do, welcome. If it's your first time, you've probably used Zoom 1 million times. You can speaker mode it if you want to blow myself and David up. I personally like gallery mode. I actually record these sessions in gallery because I love your faces. And it's funny, when people say funny things and you see everyone laugh, it's almost like you're in a real space with real people in real time. Remember those days? They were really something. So what we do is we just like drop your questions in the chat and then I will facilitate them over to David. You can also drop jokes, puns, journey lyrics, coffee selections for the day. We've got our regulars in the house. We know Howard in the UK is probably, hopefully not having coffee because it's the evening, but likely there's some tea because he is British. Okay, see, we got that. In Dina's Square, her husband might deliver coffee at some point through the session. Maybe not today. Okay, we got her. We just have the good people of the world of voiceover in the house. So here we go. So let's jump right into it. I will try to get to everybody. If you ask multiple questions and there's not that many happen, we might get to you more times than once. I will probably make a comment about your hair and your clothes because I like you. That's why. But you can also keep your camera off if you want. Carol, it's great to see you. I'm so happy that you're here. Multiple British representation. We love to see that. Okay, we love silent discos. Yes, Kat. Okay, that's fantastic. Here we go. Coming from Tony. This is actually a really interesting question. I would love to know the answer, and we haven't actually discussed it. David, can we have too many demos?
No, but with a large number of demos, you have to be super duper careful about the way you display them on your website. So what I mean by that is you need to organize it because it will be overwhelming for a client if it is not supremely organized. I have gone to some sites of voice actors who have 20 or 30, even I think 41 is the record I've seen, 41 demos. And it's a painstaking process to find out what it is that we want. It's like going to a grocery store and you can't find the product you need. But if everything's organized really well, you can find it easily. And you need to do the same thing. Um, the gentleman who had 41 demos is a guy that I've worked with a lot. He's a very well-known voice actor. He was for many years the voice of either Visa or MasterCard. I don't recall which one. And it just full-time, wonderful credits. And we put together 41 demos by organizing a lot of his content. And his demos were organized into two different categories. There was a category of demos uh, categorized by emotion, or titled rather by emotion. Okay, and then another set of demos sort of titled by the genre, the voiceover genre, which was great. So let me sidetrack for a second. In our production studio, half of our clients will call and say, "We need a voice actor for a documentary or for a commercial." I guess I should say that these clients who call say they need a voice actor for a certain genre. And so when they go to this voice actor's website, they can very easily dial in the genre. They know that they want a voice actor for a documentary, for example. Well, they can go to the genre list and select D for documentary, and voila, they hear this guy narrating a documentary demo. But the other half of our production clients call and say, "Hey, we need a voice actor who has a certain emotion. For example, we need the regular guy or an announcer guy or a laid back guy and whatever it might be." And well, if they go to this voice actor's website, then they can dial in by emotion. So the guy really covers his rear end. A lot of the content throughout those 41 demos is duplicated, a whole lot of it. In fact, almost all of the segments throughout those demos are on at least two, or if not even three or four different demos. So a segment on a documentary might also be in the straightforward emotion voice. So there's a lot of crossover, but it's terrific. I mean, it really makes it great for us to find out exactly if this guy is right for us, and it's easy for our clients. But like I said, man, we get voice actors who have demos, and there's commercial O1 and commercial O2 and commercial C. And we're thinking, which one do I listen to? It makes no sense to us. So yeah, as I said, you can't have enough demos. I think it's great to have lots of demos, but you need to organize it really, really well. Think about what your clients need, think about your strengths, and organize it based upon those two factors. That is an interesting question.
It is an interesting question. I'd love to see in the chat if anyone feels like they have too like they have too many demos, or um on the subject of demos, I guess I'm gonna do themes today. So Amber is saying, I know that we want our commercial demos to be about 1 minute, but how many scripts is the right number for that demo? Um,
Anywhere from 1 to 20, seriously.
really?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it just depends. On average, commercial demos have probably, I'd say, between 5 and 10 different segments on them, but that's just an average. Look, if you do only one thing really well, in other words, you don't have that much variety, which is fine, then you don't need to show as much. But if you have a large range of variety, then you may need more shorter segments. Or if you have a large range of variety, perhaps you should split up your commercial demo into two different demos. But as I said a moment ago, I would not call your two commercial demos commercial one and commercial two. I'd say commercial third person voice and commercial first person, or commercial hard sell, commercial soft sell, or somehow define it for your clients. Let's I'd like to get sidetracked, Siobhan, for just a moment, and sort of widen this conversation about of titling or naming your demos, because so many voice actors, I bet at least 80% of voice actors who send us their demos have a file name that is absolutely unusable for us. So very often the demo has initials in it. So if I was a voice actor and sending you a commercial demo, it could be DG voiceover or DG commercial. Well, that's one of the few times you get to brand yourself. So use your name. Next thing, don't start with the genre such as commercial and have your name after it, because then if I download your demo, then it's under C for commercial. And then down the road, if I want to hire someone whose name is David, I'm going to look under D for David, possibly under G for Goldberg, but I'm not going to think, well, I want to hire David. Let me look under C. Now, of course, you can do a search in your database and find it that way, but that's just making your client or your potential client do that much more work. So take the opportunity, brand yourself, start with your name, then clearly designate what genre or emotion the demo is about, and also designate if it's voiceover or if it's voice acting, for example, because we also get a lot of demos that are sent to us, and the file name is John Smith. Now, we don't know if John Smith is an editor who's looking for editing work from us, or if John Smith is a musician who does the background music for commercials and narrations. We don't know if they are an engineer, and this is a demo of work that John Smith has done. Maybe they're a voice actor. You have to make this stuff clear for us. Remember that we can't read your mind. So always think about the client, your potential client, and think, how would they file you? What would make it easiest for them? And just, yeah, you keep that top of mind, guys, when you market yourselves.
David, I'm upset. I thought you could read my mind by now. So, like, okay, that's fine, I guess. Just to clarify, I want to put this in the chat. So, we're talking, how do you feel about Goldberg commercial demo.mp3? How do you feel about that? Is that good or no?
Yeah, if I would say, I mean, I think that that would be fine. I would use a first name also. I mean, this is the time, the one chance you have of branding yourself that the client will keep seeing. So I would say David Goldberg, commercial voice acting, something like that, or commercial voice acting demo, or commercial VO demo. Even VO is not that clear. Voice acting would be more clear.
But
But
that's
then
such
again,
a
if you have a
long,
very long name, then a lot of the characters will get cut off. If you have a short name, it could be helpful, and you can fit more stuff in there. There is stuff to consider.
because like, so like my name is, everyone, this is how this is my full name. It's Siobhán O'Loughlin. It's outrageous. It's like forever. So like, so like if I do Siobhán O'Loughlin commercial voice acting demo dot mp3, I mean, this is crazy. Y'all are not going to look at that, right?
Yeah, so maybe market yourself as Siobhan.
Yeah. But so you still think voice acting demo should be in there? And
If you can fit it, that's great, because that distinguishes you from a voice editor or a voiceover engineer and so on, right? Because our production house, we have lots of editors and lots of engineers and lots of musicians. We have translators and localization experts, and they all work in the voiceover realm, and they all have demos.
so,
So if you can squeeze it in, that's great. But the most key, I think, the most key thing is your name, right? Take that opportunity to brand yourself, and the genre or the emotion of the demo. So in your case, you could say Siobhán O'Loughlin, maybe a dash or a dot or something to separate, and then just say COM demo, COM for commercial. It's not optimal, but because your name is long, it goes forever, as you said. Maybe you have to shorten it to COM demo.
okay. One more question. Do you want capital letters or just like lowercase letter? Like, do you,
Title case is great. It's always more clear,
because it's
way
easier to
easier
read,
to
right?
read.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. This little demo in the chat. We're still innovative, you guys, on Zoom 35 times, however many times we've been doing this. Okay, cool.
Wait, let me share a funny story. Last time we were hiring in our office, we received, as typical, a lot of, I mean, hundreds or thousands of resumes. And one resume came in and it was called, so wait, everyone's setting their resumes and we say what kind of experience we're looking for this particular position. And people send resumes and sometimes they have absolutely none of the appropriate experience that we were looking for. And one came in that said landscape. We're thinking, this is a landscaper sending us a resume. We realized that when we opened the file, it was their resume in landscape form rather than portrait form. That is someone who's they're thinking about labeling their resume in their own computer for themselves, not thinking about how it can be perceived by the recipient. So like I said, guys, just always think about your clients, the recipients of your demos. Or if you send a resume, which is pretty darn rare in this industry, but whatever you send to a client, make it easy for them to know who you are and what it's about.
Mm. I have a Micah in the chat. My friend Micah, hey, he's asking like, what if you did all of the above on the demo, voiced, edited, engineered the whole demo? I think what David is going to say, because maybe I can read David's, just kidding, cannot read his mind. But I think what you might say is that you should change it depending on the job you're trying to get. So like with Micah, if you're trying to get an engineering gig, you would like want to label it as such. Does that sound correct, David?
Yeah, I think that's great. Sure. If you're going after a studio and trying to offer them editing, then call it, and distinguish it as an editing demo or as you are an editor. But if you're just offering voiceover and, voice acting, and as part of that service, along with it comes editing and engineering, which I think all of you on this call do, or if you're getting into voiceover, you will do. That sort of, in my world, falls under voice acting, right? Because being a voice actor today requires you to receive the audition script and then record it and then edit it and engineer it yourself and submit it back to the client. I mean, that's just all steps of voice acting. So I think at that point you can just call it voice acting or you are a voice actor, whichever you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I love all of this. I'm just making sure. David, is 5 spots too few spots for a demo? Or do you ever listen to a demo that has 5 spots and are like, that's not enough?
No, there's so many variables, guys. Some audiobook demos are just one segment and it could be 5 minutes long. And now that's, I think, the extreme, right? You can't have less than one. So one segment is all you need for an audiobook demo. And when we're casting an audiobook demo, we don't want to hear little 8-second snippets of different audiobooks. We want to hear a voice actor, an audiobook narrator. We want to hear their stamina, their consistency, their character development. How is their listener engagement? I mean, these are the things that we're listening for. You can't tell that, or it's really hard to tell that in 8 seconds, right? Will they have breath control, in 2 minutes down the road? How do they sound? How's all of their editing? There's so many things we listen for. So in an audiobook demo, there may just be one segment that's 5 minutes long. Now you may have 5 different demos, and each demo is of a different genre. For example, it could be a sci-fi demo, an audiobook demo, and a romance, and a contemporary classic, and a nonfiction, and a kid's book, and you may have multiple demos, but each one is just one segment. And then
Mhm.
at the other end of the extreme, you could have, I'd say the other end of the extreme would be like a promo demo. Very often promo demos have a lot of segments on them. Oh, animation. Even animation demos typically have even more segments on them. An animation demo very often has like 10 or 15 different segments on it. And each one is just a few seconds long because in a short amount of time, in that 1 minute, you're hoping to show a client, you know what? I can do a lot of different voices. Like, check this out, different emotions, different styles. And so you pack that stuff in. And in that case, we don't want to hear a voice for more than 3 seconds. We just show us what you can do, boom, move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one. So it really does depend on the amount of variety that you can muster up and the genre that you're going after and the types of clients you're looking to get. Lots of variables.
Um, David, can you speak about sourcing and writing copy for your demos? For example, our friend Jorge, amazing Zoom backgrounds. It looks great in there, really good. For example, he says commercial. I've heard it's not a good idea to make up brands like McDowell's versus McDonald's. is the line, is that, first of all, is that real? Like, do you care if we are advertising burgers at McDowell's instead of McDonald's? Like, do you care about that, David?
Yes and no. It depends on who the client is. So if you are looking to get work, let me think. Trying to organize my answer in my head. Let me answer that with two extremes. If you were going after local work, then a local production company or a local client, like for a local commercial, they may not care if it's McDowell's. And honestly, I bet there is a McDowell's out there somewhere, right? Somewhere in the world, there's probably McDowell's burgers. But if you're going for national work, trying to get, or even international work through a big time agent, then your job is to sort of convince the agent that you have lots of experience. And then putting things like five fake names, McDowell's and Dome Depot and whatever, just making up names that are very similar to an existing national company. I mean, it sounds a little silly, right? And I think at some point the agent will listen to your demo, or the national client will listen to your demo and say, it's clear that these are not real segments. The snippets on the demo are not from paid work. And if the snippets or the segments on your demo are not from paid work, then it indicates that you don't have real experience, right? You got to create a fake demo, so to speak. I don't like the word fake, and I take that back. They are real demos, but they're made up of recordings made solely for the purpose of your demo, rather than a demo being made up of segments from paid work. And so your job is to convince a client that you have experience. No one will hire you if they don't get the sense that you have experience and or that they can trust you. So yeah, so I would use McDonald's, but also don't if you're brand new. I don't suggest putting on all national brand names, especially then going after an agent, because an agent's going to hear that and say, "Come on, buddy, like you have all these national spots and I've never heard of you." You know, it's just again, that's a clear indicator that you're creating work. Sometimes I found voice actors get a lot more work by putting on local sounding companies on their demo. So it doesn't have to be McDonald's. It doesn't have to be a name that is so closely related to the real client name, but call it Hanson Burgers or Siobhán Burgers, or just come up with some names. Like Siobhán Burgers. I'm not sure how that would fly, but Siobhán
They're
doesn't
vegan.
really eat burgers. Yeah, she's vegan. So, um, but you get the idea, right? Just make something that creates a script for something that sounds local. And if you want a big name on it, like make it the local franchise of a big name, like the New York Red Cross or something like that, or visit your local Ford dealership. So you get a big brand name like Ford, but it still sounds like a local commercial, and that's a fine way to go as well.
Yeah, and he was also asking about the what's allowable versus what, plagiarism, and to speak to that for how like Edge does it, like, if you're doing all of these, multiple spots on a 1 minute demo, for instance, you're not really even taking copy from the website, because you can't use those sentences. You're kind of extracting content to make a little spot. So you're actually not plagiarizing any of their, I mean, maybe some people do it. I don't know how. I suppose if they're doing like an entire um like stealing a paragraph and then just doing a demo of one paragraph thing. But I think the realm of like, am I plagiarizing when I'm talking about this brand? David, do you want to speak a little bit about that, and how that
Yeah, let me certainly clarify. For what Siobhan said is our friendly advice, not legal advice. We have to say that, Siobhan.
sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. So here's the friendly advice. I don't know the legal definition of plagiarism. So perhaps stealing one word from a script. I mean, I can't imagine how one word is plagiarizing someone, right? But a short phrase, like the Nike commercial where they say, "Just do it." 3 words. If you put that on your demo, is that plagiarizing? I don't know. Again, the legal definition. Um, I will tell you again, this is friendly advice, that nearly every voice actor I know has taken copy from existing commercials that are on air, that are broadcast, that are out in the public world, right? Um, or from documentaries that are airing, and from corporate videos and things that are out there public facing. And I've never heard of anyone, I've never heard of a voice actor getting into trouble for doing it. and further to that point, then I've said this before, I can't imagine that if you were to plagiarize a commercial, if you took the words of a Coca-Cola commercial and you put it on your demo, I can't imagine that Coca-Cola would spend their money and resources trying to sue you because you're just a sole enterprise. I mean, I can't imagine that happening. If anything, you're promoting their name. So maybe they'd be thrilled about it. But again, I don't know what they would do. I've never heard of any issues, but but you'd have to check with a lawyer if you want, for legal advice. I can only tell you what just about every voice actor does. What a lot of people do, also, a lot of voice actors will do, is take a script that's out there in the world, whether they transcribe a few sentences from a documentary on the National Geographic Channel or a commercial. They transcribe it, but then they edit it. You change the client name. So it goes from McDonald's to Siobhán Burgers. It goes from the quarter pounder with beef. It goes to the vegan, Beyond Burger special. I mean, you just change a couple of words, and now, again, I don't know if it's plagiarism or not. Again, you need to ask a lawyer for a legal advice on that. But that's just what most voice actors do. I will also say that we have about 6,500 scripts on our library. It's a free library to use, but I encourage you to not use any of them on your demo because so many people do. And we post on the front page of our free script library, do not use these on a demo. Virtually every voice acting school other than ours uses those scripts. Take the scripts if you want, use them for practice, tweak them, edit them. So, as I gave a demonstration of a minute ago, and then use them if you want, but make sure they really sound. Oh, I would encourage you to make sure that they sound very different by the time you're done editing the script.
Yeah, I mean, I think another like area of this is also like you're not I don't know anyone who has like literally made money off of their demo. Like no one's purchasing your demo. Well, right. So because you're not actually profiting off of this piece itself, I think that also is part of the, again, friendly, not legal advice, but regarding the legalities of it. Like, for instance, in the theater world, right? You can have your audience walk in to the theater to, Beyonce. But unless you obtain the rights, Beyonce cannot be part of the production because that's what you're making money off of, right? Like that's part of the production, which requires that music, so I think there's like some of that profit part is in there as well. But yeah, I think these are important conversations. And Kat, I hope that this is helpful. I know that you had been like, oh, should I use brand names and all that stuff? We kind of have answered these questions. Yeah. You look great. That's a nice salmon color you're wearing today. I want I want everyone to know that Alexis's favorite is cocoa with cinnamon, cayenne, and black pepper. So that's an important update for everyone. And Todd, do not stop believing. Todd did put Journey in the chat. I'm not going to sing it. I'm going to spare you all, but just know that it's in my heart. Don't stop believing. So okay, this is all really good. I'm wanting to. So people are asking about um resumes as well, and this is a conversation we have sort of discussed maybe once before. I do not have a voiceover resume. David, what's the deal with voiceover resumes? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing, but they're very rare in the industry, right? Your demo is essentially your resume. A resume, I think by definition is supposed to show what you've done, what your experience is, to teach someone about you. Well, in the voiceover industry, your demo does that. Demo is is an abbreviation for demonstration. Your demo demonstrates what you're vocally capable of providing to a client. And so I'd have to say the vast majority of voice actors don't have a resume, as far as I know. I never see them. It's once in a blue moon do we get a resume. Um, I see the only time I see resumes typically is when there is a voice actor who is in working in multiple disciplines. So there are stage actors and on camera actors and voice actors, and they perform sort of, like I said, different disciplines. Because I guess in the acting world, and Siobhan, you would know more about that, but in the acting world, it seems to be very common to have a resume. But that's because it may not be as easy to send someone a 1 minute MP3 to show what you're capable of doing. So, but outside of that, yeah, voice actors just generally don't have resumes, not that I see.
I actually feel like it's segueing into the film world too. I don't know if there's any like filmmakers in the house, but we have this thing called a one sheet,
Mhm.
right? And the one sheet is actually kind of being replaced right now with the website. And so what I'm seeing actually that voice actors already do quite well, that still like actors is just like not really possible, but lots of voice actors on their websites have the PNGs of the brands that they have worked for and showcase. And so you essentially have like, if someone listens to your demo, however they got to your demo, you emailed the demo or they got it on your website. Your website, I think, is actually the resume experience. It's like, here's who I am, here's how I present, here's the work that I've done, and here's my demos, and here's how to be in touch. So it sort of seems like I know that like a lot of the industries are sort of going to that place. So that's what I would recommend there as people are kind of asking about that. Because I mean, David, would you agree that you see the website, you see the clients, the image format of the PNGs are really lovely and like digestible quickly?
Mhm. Yeah, very yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah. Jumping back to the creating the we're on like demo day, y'all. But so Robert is asking because he's new, but is it advisable to create demos that showcase my script writing skills? Like, do we illustrate that in any way? Do we say like I wrote these spots or no? Or what?
You know, my regular answer begins with the same 2 words, "It depends." So often as the beginning of my answer, "Yeah, it depends." If you are looking to get work as a script writer, well, then it's critical to convey that you've also written those scripts. That's great. If you are working with clients, especially international clients who may be translating scripts into different languages, then letting them know that you are also a script writer, that you can help them with their script or their content, that could be very helpful. So there are times and places for this stuff. But outside of that, if you are simply looking for voice acting work, then having the client know that you can write a script is sort of meaningless. And in fact, I would think it could take away from getting work because the client might say, well, you wrote these scripts. Well, I guess that means that you haven't been paid for real work, which means you have no real experience, which means you're raising your arm, like saying, hey, by the way, I've never done any work. Like, why would you want to promote that? So, uh, outside of the idea of looking for script writing work as a script writer or translation expert or even a localization expert, I think I would shy away from mentioning that.
One thing I've definitely learned from David on these Ask Me Anythings, which I like to think I knew, but has really helped me hone this right now, is to always be thinking about is to prioritize the client over yourself. Like, yes, I'm a great writer. Yes, I'm a charming, charismatic, I don't know, all the whatever things I think of myself. But does the client care about any of that? If they don't, then like you're just kind of like adding more things that they don't care about and don't want to read and they don't have time and will just like gloss over you.
Or it could turn them off.
Or turn right. Yeah. Yeah. And to be more succinct, you turn them off. So I think it's really important to think about with every conversation, with every pitch, with every submission, like what does the client want? And are you like offering them things that they didn't ask for in this specific situation? Then like that's not helpful. To that point, um, this is an interesting question.
Wait, Siobhan.
Yeah, yeah,
Before that question,
yeah.
this crazy, crazy analogy just popped in my head. I'm imagining, so okay, at home we're hiring a landscaper to do some work. And I'm imagining I call a landscaper, I look online, and in the advertisement or their website, they say the landscaping company says we drive beautiful, beautiful like state of the art trucks. My first thought might be, man, they're going to be really expensive. Like you guys really have to think about how things are perceived by your clients. So yeah, always think about that. I'm just backing you up on that, Siobhan. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think, yeah, these questions are really great. And it's important. Also, we have a lot of skill. A lot of people, when you're a voice actor, you're a freelancer, you do a bunch of different things. How we showcase that is something we really need to just consider. It's good that you do a lot of things. You need to keep the income streams a flowing, but we just have to be really specific about how we're doing it. David, in general, or is there a general dot file for a demo? I was gonna say .mp3, but I actually don't like what do you get? What do you like? What does everyone like?
Yeah, I think MP3s are still, in general, the best way to go because we are all working out of home studios and we have the ability to record lots of different file types, and that's all great. And sometimes you work with a recording studio and they ask for a specific WAV file or AIF file or who knows, whatever they may want. But at the end of the day, I think everyone can play MP3s. And a lot of clients out there are still very comfortable with MP3s. And even though they are not the highest quality, it's the higher quality MP3s sound nearly as good as like a raw file. They really sound good these days. The algorithms that MP3 uses to sort of dither down the data size is amazing. Things sound great. MP3s. I've read lots of tests where engineers, like really qualified engineers, are asked to compare an MP3 with a WAV file, for example, and they can't get it right very often. So that's what most clients go with, just an MP3. I think it's a
David,
great idea to always ask your client what they want. Always let your clients know that you can offer them MP3s as well as a multitude of other file types. That's great. They'll think that you're really talented, you're experienced, you know your technology, you're there to support them, whatever it is that they need. If they need a certain file type to import directly into like a Photoshop video or something, or I don't know, who knows, but they're not Photoshop. Oh, what's the presentation software? It's escaping me right now. Anyway, like Siobhán, come on, you know.
Premiere?
No, it starts with a P. I can't think of it. Anyway, but let your clients know that you can offer them whatever it is that they need, and that's great. But if you don't know, MP3 is usually the way to go.
David, if an audition doesn't specify, which often they do, but if an audition doesn't specify what dot file they want, would you say the standard should be to send them an MP3?
Absolutely.
Great. Just clarifying. I love the clarity. And sometimes I'm here to ask the questions that you might be like, that was not a.
PowerPoint. Sorry, it just came to me. Sorry, I knew it started with the P. Got stuck. Yeah.
Oh
Sorry.
my God. It's called something different on a Mac now, though. What is it called? It's like dot. It's like what is the PowerPoint on a Mac? It has this other page. There's pages.
Oh, pages. Yeah.
We got
Mhm.
Final Cut. Okay, everybody's notes. Keynote. Yes, Gina. It's called Keynote. Oh boy, that's very great. Okay. So here we go, demo day. Is it better to create one demo that showcases multiple genres or create multiple demos that focus on one genre each?
I think it's best to have multiple. Generally, it's best to have multiple demos that each focus on one genre or a voice type. That's usually the best. It just makes it way easier for your clients to find out what it is that they want. Let me give you an example of why. So, if the fourth segment on your demo is a hard sell, and then yeah, a client is looking for a hard sell voice, you send them your demo, but they hit play on your demo and the first thing they hear is not hard sell, it's soft sell. They say, oh, maybe this person has a great voice, but it's not the kind of voice that we're looking for. What's the chances that they're going to listen through your entire minute long demo when they have 50 demos in front of them? It's pretty slim, right? So if you were to take your 5 or 6 or 7 different genres or voice types on your demo and split them up, that'd be great. Voice 123 does this nicely, right? When you upload demos to Voice 123, they're typically called samples these days, and each one has a different category, a different name, and for many years I've sort of advocated for that. I think it's a terrific way to go, or at least having multiple demos, each with it, as I said earlier, with a different genre or voice type. But there are instances when having sort of a compilation demo are super helpful. If you're going after a client who does it all, or they need multiple styles, or you're going after a small local company because you're just getting going. There could be times that a compilation demo is nice. Also, by the way, I talked earlier today about the guy with 41 demos. There were actually about 38 or 37 or 38 sort of specific demos. And then there were 3 or 4 compilation demos throughout there. So there were probably 5 different commercial demos that this guy had. But then we created one compilation commercial demo. It showed a little bit of everything. And then we did one in the corporate world. We did one for presentation, sales and presentations, um, one for film and TV. So it had promos and trailers on it, and it's just compilations. So that's nice too. You can do that.
I definitely just want to reiterate what we learned from Joanne at our animation casting director session last time. Is that she's looking to cast like internally. So like, oh, in your animation demo, you could play the lead, but you could also do side characters that just have special episodes. Like how can we work this one voice actor? And I feel that that's another thing that's great about having your genre specific demos is that as those folks are listening to you do different styles of commercial, they might be able to think, how can we have this be a returning client, to do a variety of things for us? Like, what is their range within the world that we are working in for, casting?
And
Um,
sometimes it's listening to your clients and figuring out what kind of work they're giving you and focus your demos on that. I worked with one client. Let me back up and say there are a whole lot of voice actors who, like on average, once a year, will send me all of the stuff they've recorded over the past year and say, David, just sift through it all, go through like here's the 50 hours of stuff I've recorded over the past year, or the 50 best hours, and just skim through it all, figure out how I can organize it into 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe 10 different demos. And I'll go through. Usually I just create a little spreadsheet for myself and say, well, this particular segment could fall under commercial. It could also fall under hard sell. It could also fall under dialogue, and I'll sort of categorize them that way. And so I listened to this one woman's demos, and it ended up that throughout all of the different work that she had recorded, sorry, I didn't listen to her demos. I listened to the work that she had done that in the past year or so. And there were a lot of dialogue stuff she had. She had done some dialogue in animation. There were a couple of commercials that had dialogue in them. There was a e-learning with dialogue. They were just sporadically around. And I realized that after looking at my spreadsheet, I said, you have enough stuff here, enough dialogue pieces to assemble a dialogue demo. And so we created a demo of just taking snippets or segments of all of these dialogue pieces. Ooh, sorry, I hit the mic. So there was a snippet from a commercial and a snippet from an e-learning. So now we're mixing commercial and narration, but it was fine because we were making a compilation of dialogue voiceover. And this was great. She got so much work by having that because every time a client said, yeah, we're ultimately putting together a dialogue piece, they said, oh, this person, she specializes in dialogue. It rocked her world. It worked so well. So yeah, listen to all of the stuff you have and figure out what's selling. Where are you working, and what kind of demos can you make? What would differentiate you based upon your clients?
Um, okay, we've had we've got so many really good questions. I know there was one, I think it's from Philip way up about, I've recorded my demos. I don't have professional experience yet. How do I market myself? Working on a website currently. Website is a great place to begin. I always recommend people, if you worked with a coach, to get some quotes from a coach about like what a joy you are to work with, about your skill set. um, Another thing you can do, of course, is like try to volunteer and find some labor that you can lend your talents to so that you can showcase a few different projects in that way. You've really just got to start spinning the wheels. My brother just recorded his animation demo that was directed by Jay Snyder, and I was like, you better put on the internet on social media that Jay Snyder directed your animation. And he was like, oh, I'm so bad at this. And I was like, you need to start telling people, And so definitely just like being out there and being present. I recorded two the voiceover gigs I had this weekend that I got just from people within my networks. And I'm very like active in the digital world of people just being like, hey, I just thought of you because I'm creating this big and I'm, just projects that people were like, oh, you do voiceover stuff, right? Like I have a thing, so I definitely think that starting with your networks and just constantly being, just letting people know that you do this stuff, but also your website is the first place to like really present and really show people who you are and how yeah and the talents that you have so that there's a landing page that they can see. So Philip, I'm glad you're working on your website. It's really important, and having your demos. Tom Deere is always like having your demos easy to find and your contact information easy to find, whether it's a form or whatever it is. Like he's like, they need to have constant ways to get in touch with you.
Well,
Um,
let me add to that though, because
yep.
that's two things that you should have on your website. I think there are three things you need on your website. You need to make it easy for someone to hear your demos. So your demo should be up front and center. Second thing, you need to convey trust because no one will hire you if they can't trust you that you can get the job done. And that's having logos of companies that you've worked with or testimonials or quotes from them or quotes from your coach or saying if you're brand new saying how you've trained with 7 different coaches and you've worked on taking all of these workshops and you stand by your work and whatever. And the third thing is making it easy to contact you. And with respect to making it easy to contact you, I would strongly encourage you to have an email address, a phone number, and a form. If you can do all three, that is optimal. So many voice actors only have a form on their website, no phone number, no email address. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of producers, myself included. I like to actually talk with someone. I really prefer to talk. I want to hear their voice. I can get a sense of them just by hearing them and having a quick conversation with them. I like calling someone. And if not, then I prefer to email rather than a form because then I can attach all the scripts that I may want. And sometimes forms allow you to attach a script or a document to file, but not all the time. And so, yeah, I think that in our production department, I'd say probably half of our new clients call us or email us, whereas half of our new clients will use the form on our production website. So if you can do both, that is optimal.
Okay. I'm learning that social media has a lot of implications on a VO career, from self-marketing to finding audition opportunities. Do you have any advice on how to more efficiently consume social media? I'm finding that I'm spending hours a day sifting through information. That is absolutely a problem of our modern world that I very much relate to. And it can be really time consuming. I think that you have to, in terms of consuming, I think the one thing we can have a little more control over is our output, right? Like, all right, what am I gonna, if I'm an influencer, I'm gonna post 3 times a day. We're voice actors, we don't have to post 3 times a day. I recommend posting anywhere from, if you can, 5 times a week to once a day. That's what I recommend if that's physically possible. It's also okay if it's not. Then I would say your bare minimum should be 3 times a week of posting. Okay. Then you don't post and ghost. You post and you make sure to engage with people and sort of be in the world a little bit. But if you're posting and then engaging, you could be like, all right, that's 30 minutes, just 30 minutes a day that I'm gonna post and involve myself with other people. It's probably gonna end up being more like an hour that you are sort of observing, searching things, getting involved, whatever. The consumption of social media is a problem. It's addictive, and we all know it. It's the phone. I mean, it's designed to be addictive, right? It sits here, and we know that we get those like endorphins when we respond, right? It's just like it's a thing. So we have to find out how to care for ourselves and do the things that fuel us and feed us and make us feel good and not feel bad when we are trying to engage with the modern world as it is. So it's something you need to pay attention to and monitor. And like I think even if you spend a week just clocking like how long did I spend on socials, and would I rather be reading a book during that time or doing something else, in any kind of way. At the same time, there's a lot to gain and learn and community to develop by being on socials. So, I mean, this community, there's a lot of amazing people on the Zoom right now who do great things. And I've gotten to know them better through social media, and LinkedIn has become kind of more of a party place for me. I really like it out there. But so, I think like we have to really think about what we need and what works for us and what starts to feel bad and dangerous. So building it into your schedule, I think, is going to be the most beneficial. How much time are you going to spend? And then to put it down. I personally don't have any social media notifications on my phone. Nothing. I don't, if it, I have a Instagram message or something, I don't get it unless I open up Instagram. That is designed so that I don't constantly feel the pull to respond to everything all the time. I don't know if David wants to talk about his social media experience, but that's what I would say.
No, I'm very good with what you said. And the fact that you don't have notifications on your phone, for example, explain why you don't respond to my emails. I'm kidding.
That was a sick burn. But I will, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it in stride. But it's because, but people can relate, right? Like if you're responding to emails all day, you can't actually, how are you going to do your auditions?
Mhm.
How are you going to, like you can't, because there's always going to be something that you need to urgently, you'll decide is urgent. It feels urgent because your phone is notifying you. So, I have a lot of opinions about it, and I really like being on social media, but I feel strongly about how we are involved with all of this stuff. Oh, thank you, Jessica. Oh, that's wonderful. We'll offer it again. I teach a social media for voice actors class that I will do on Zoom next time. Since Joanne has busted down the door and teaching on Zoom at Edge Studio. But yes, and we talk about this more in depth. Sometimes that's how you find out about auditions and opportunities, 100%. It's also how people find you within the networks of the things. So, okay, we are, wow, look at the time. Okay. I feel that we have, let's just answer one more question in the last 6 minutes here from Pasha. I hope I've said that correctly. She says, I sometimes hear that we should not work for free, that it won't do any good anyway. What do you think of this matter of working for free? David Goldberg, what do you think?
I think it's great under the right circumstance, and I think it's horrible under the wrong circumstance. When Edge Studio, when this business converted from being a music studio to voiceover, we had no clients the day we converted, right? We were brand new in the voiceover world. And so we went out there and found organizations that we just personally want to support and offered free services. And to this day, 20 years later, after converting the studio from music to voiceover, no, 14 years, I still do it. Uh, Dina, who's on the call, knows that um, I supported one of a corporation that she knows someone at. She and I were talking once, and she mentioned that she knew someone at an organization. I said, I love that place. That they do such good work in this world, and Edge Studio has given them whole lot of time. I wholeheartedly believe in donating, but that's just a personal thing. But I won't donate to, or I won't have the business donate to any company or organization if the person that we are donating to is profiting off of us. That just doesn't sit right in my book, right? So we commonly get requests to do a freebie. We get a request from an ad agency who'll say, "Hey, we're putting out a public service announcement for anti-smoking or something like that, and and would you donate your services?" And I personally believe, that maybe people shouldn't be smoking. But then I find out that the agency is profiting, and well, why should they make money and even more money for me to work for free or find a voice actor who will work for free? So yeah, I think there's a time and place for everything.
I
But
agree.
that's a personal. That's really ultimately a personal decision you have to make.
I agree with David. I also definitely think, for people starting out and wanting to donate to a cause you believe in and then being able to showcase your talent is a win-win for everybody. And I think for new folks looking into how you might be able to contribute your talents to their organization is really good. I know voice actors, and who've done political work for a campaign that they really believe in, because a lot of those campaigns they're not savvy, in that way, right? So there's a lot of things that you could like local, like city council and things like that. There's a lot of cool things that you can do in that way. I think on the same token, sort of what David is already speaking about, doing things for free or underselling yourself or lowballing yourself, as it were, hurts the community, right? Like we all
Yes.
invest in this. We invest in our home studios. It costs us money to be here. It's huge labor. And if you're really wonderful and you have a fantastic home studio and you're like you're barely making any money from the work you're doing, well then why should they hire anyone else in this Zoom square who's trying to charge what we deserve, right? So if you think about it as a community effort, like we all deserve to be paid well for our work, because this costs, your home studio costs money.
Oh, and it's not just the money of training and studio, but it's the time you invest in this. So you guys are awesome for being here. And I'll tell you, there are always so many political races going on, and politicians generally really need support and donations. We've done it for quite a number of politicians. And I will say something, not to make this a political conversation. So if you feel otherwise, it is what it is. But we donated to the Obama back in 2016, I guess it would have been, and ended up I made a series of phone calls to finally get to the right person, but then we ended up doing all the audio, or a lot of audio, for their social media for during their campaign. And when COVID hit back in March of last year, about 16 months ago, I immediately got on the phone. I called the CDC, who's now a paying client of ours, and all kinds of Food and Drug Administrations and states and health departments, and said, "Look, this is a scary thing. I will donate, the services of my business." And that was great. And yeah, as a result, now we actually have new paying clients, which wasn't even necessarily the core intention. It's a nice outcome, but it worked out great.
Yeah, so I think these are really important things to consider, and how you're spending your time and your labor and your energy. Speaking of spending your time, and like, oh my gosh, wow, we're right at time, but y'all, you need to mark your calendars, because the 22nd of July, another surprise for you. We've got Rolf from Voice 123. He's doing an Ask Me Anything all about Voice 123. So like you're like, what's the pay to play? What's the thing? How do I do it? What do you want? He can answer those things that we have not been able to answer for basically a year and a half, because it's not our business. But he is our friend, and we are partnering with trying to make resources more accessible to voice actors. And we're super excited. He's our friend. He's actually David's friend. I just do emails right now, but he's
Yes,
gonna be my friend, and he's
let
gonna be
me
your
let
friend.
me throw in. He's terrific. He's the head of Voice 123. Like, he is the top guy at Voice 123, and I know him very well. And he is terrific. Um, he's great at answering questions. So I would strongly encourage you to come, because no one knows more than he does when it comes to Voice 123. So it's great.
It's super fantastic. So we're very excited to be able to kind of continue to offer things even as the world is opening up. We're still Zooming because we're voice actors, and like whatever, we're home working anyway. So once again, if you're totally new to voiceover and you don't know how to get started, our Investigate Voiceover class is what is up. If you were like wanting to talk to if you want to book a private coaching session with anyone here at Edge Studio, there is $25 off with the code AMA. So wait, sorry, I just gave you the same link at the same time. Is she Rusty here? What's happening? Yes. Okay, great. There you go. $25 off your coaching session. If you want to work with me, if you want to talk more about your what your website looks like, your branding in general, your social media output, presence, income, consumption out in general, Voices 123 date. I always say voices because I'm like that, but it is July 22nd at the same time. July 22nd, 1 p.m. Eastern. We will be interviewing Rolf. It will be very fun. Maybe there will be a puppy. I don't know. I can't make any promises about anything, but y'all, I so appreciate you all being with here. You can use that AMA code to work with David and talk about how your demos are sounding, your copy, your genres, all of that stuff. And that AMA code does work for 25 off of his coaching sessions as well. Thank you all for being here. It's 11:02. I know y'all need to live your lives. It's 2:02. It's 9:02 over there in the UK. Am I right, Howard? Am I kind of right? Yeah, okay. Really good to see everybody. John, it's great to see you. Tim, thanks for joining us. Donald, thank you for being with us. It's great to see all my friends again. Thank you for being here today, and we'll see you next time. David, any last closing remarks?
Nope.
All
Thank you,
good.
Siobhán. Thank you, everyone. You guys rocked. Great questions today. Thank you so much.
So good. I'll
See you in
post.
2 weeks.
Yeah, this will be on YouTube tomorrow. See you then. Bye.